I told my kids to tell their stepmom to back off when it came to telling me how to raise my pet bearded dragon, since she was claiming I was starving them even though I'd been raising them for far longer than her, and she lost her mind. So apparently my kids told their stepmom my son's bearded dragon was looking sick, or malnourished, or something inaccurate, and their stepmom, who has her own bearded dragon, that they just got so not like she is an expert, asked them a bunch of questions about our setup and started sending them over with little cans of bugs and an expensive UVB light for the proper lighting, whatever that means. I'm first and foremost a little peeved at my teen, who was the one who told his stepmom that I let the lizard just live in his own poop and was asking why her bearded dragon doesn't smell but ours does. He also is the one who told her our bearded dragon looks sick, and I guess my younger chimed in. My younger also told me his brother told his stepmom he wasn't getting attached to it because it might die early like the last bearded dragon we had. Like what? The lizard is about 6 months old now and a little small, but I feed it daily some crickets and pellets and clean the poop every couple days. I do take care of it, and it's really not this woman's place to be telling the kids things like, oh, they should be fed 2-3 eggs a day as babies and need to eat a lot of bugs, and implying that I am doing something awful like starving this animal. So when my younger son came at me again with something stepmom told him, I told him to tell her I know how to take care of lizards and I've had bearded dragons way longer than she has, and to stop using my kids as messengers. Apparently, he went and told his stepmom that, now my ex is texting me that I'm a jerk. She was only trying to help the kids and their animal, and it's not like he'd ever listen to us about anything, so she was trying to teach the kids how to take care of it. I think at bare minimum it should have been their dad teaching them, not some lady who isn't their parent. Am I a jerk? Update 1. My ex and I are split up. Our older son lives with him and younger with me. We are both not high income, but he somehow landed a wife who makes 4x our income, and they often go out of the country on nice vacations, which I guess he has been sharing with the kids. The kids want their passports now thanks to his brainwashing. I initially said yes because him and my son caught me off guard and started asking me if it was okay one day. Then I had time to think about it and realized how bad things are in the world right now. I don't feel like it's worth the risk and danger having the kids so far away from me and out of the country with their dad and stepmom. They also need my consent per our custody agreement to go out of the country anyway, and at this point I'd never say yes. So today when my ex asked me if X date was okay for the passport appointment, I asked where he is even going to be taking the kids, to which he told me he didn't know yet. They just want to get the ball rolling because it takes 3 months just to get the passport and they haven't planned anything specific yet, which I find sketchy. So I told him and the kids know that he needs my consent to take them anywhere because of how bad the world is right now, and I'd never agree, so passports are pointless. My younger son got upset and my ex got angry also and kept repeating, are you just never going to allow them to go anywhere then? I never said that, just not right now. So my ex is texting me now saying I'm a jerk and I'm robbing my kids of experiences, except I never have gone out of the country and don't have a passport and I am fine, so I don't really buy it. Like, does a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old really need to experience Japan or England or whatever? They can go when they are 18 and probably appreciate it more then. Other than some initial disappointment, my kids haven't even mentioned it to me again, so I have a feeling they don't really care and it's more their dad influencing them. So am I a jerk? Update 2, titled, Ida for not helping my ex pay for our older son? We have 2 kids, that both used to live with me. One lives with my ex now, high school, and the younger, 2nd grade, with me. They are supposed to both see the other parent, and we split 50-50 summers. However, because my older started playing football, I gave up a lot of my time over the summer because his practice is an hour away, so I just told him to stay with his dad. With regards to child support, I filed when I had both kids, but for whatever reason the amount came out to 0 in court, and with the custody change turned out I had to pay him. But the courts were kind enough to keep it at 0 since I was the one who filed. So since then, we have each just been paying for the child who lives with us. Also, when I had both children, I never asked their father to chip in for anything. He did buy clothes and supplies for both boys and paid for the extracurriculars and our older son's expensive contact lenses. His vision is so bad the contact lenses have to be custom made, but I never hounded him for it. Unfortunately, my ex does not feel the same now that he has custody. He keeps texting me, seems to be out of spite because he knows I reduced my hours to part-time to take care of my boyfriend and I's baby and no longer make what I used to, saying the child support order that I filed for state's medical costs must be shared 50-50, so now he wants me to pay half of the contact lenses, $200 a year, and also half for his braces, which I did agree to pay, $100 per month. I told him no to the contact lenses because our son can just wear glasses, which are totally covered by the insurance, but my ex says our teen does not want to wear glasses because he plays football. My ex is also constantly hounding me to contribute to things like football costs for uniforms. He wanted $50, extracurricular costs, peak clothes, school items, etc. because he claims our older son is more expensive than the younger, that he still buys our younger son clothes because I just give him hand-me-downs, and he has both boys more than 50% on average because I gave up time with our older son. He told me I am essentially abandoning our older son just because he no longer lives with me. Not true. I did buy him a $60 backpack for school and a nice belt. When I told him I couldn't afford it because I work part-time now, he told me go back to working full-time and that having another child doesn't mean I can just stop paying for my current kids. I do pay for my kids. I pay for food and clothes for my younger. I find it extremely hurtful what my ex is saying. He even threw in that their stepmom is supporting him more than me. I spend time with my son when I do see him, and I am basically paying for my younger son entirely. Am I a jerk? Update 3, titled, Ida for not letting my son go to homecoming on my weekend? My son is a freshman and his dad is telling me he wants to go to homecoming, but it is 6 to 10 p.m. on my Saturday. I get him free night to Sunday night. I only see him 4 days a month right now, and he only sees his brother on the weekends because my ex took my older son away from me to go live with him when he wasn't doing good in school with me. So I told his dad no and said it isn't fair to me or his brother to allow him to go, and I can't drive him there because it's an hour each way, so it would be 4 hours of driving for me. His dad said he would give up the Monday, but I'd still only get him from Sunday morning to Monday evening, which is less than my usual time. Well, my son is throwing a fit now and his dad is telling me I don't put my kids first, but it's literally just a dance. I barely see my son and I already up a lot of time for his football practice. Update 4, titled, Ida for not letting my son go to homecoming over grades? My son lives with his dad and is a freshman in high school. His dad asked if our son could go to homecoming as it is on my weekend. I initially said no because I live an hour away and only see him 4 days a month, but his dad offered to switch weekends, so I was considering letting him go. However, I checked his grades and saw that he has a D in one of his classes. I emailed the teacher and she said he has been on his phone in class and unfocused and not doing assignments complete. I texted my ex, who told me he has been working with the teacher, counselor and assistant principal and our son for the last 3 weeks, but the teacher has been relatively non-responsive, gives students zeros if they don't follow all instructions to a T, and takes forever to update grades after the students fix the problems. He told me he already turned our son's phone off during school hours as punishment, and the D is due to one 200-point assignment where our son received a 0 for not taking notes correctly in class, and he is working with the teacher to help him redo it and turn it in the right way, and the teacher allegedly said he could do this. He also claims he has been in contact with all his other teachers and he is not acting up in their classes, and this instance was specifically when there was a sub in class. Needless to say, I have difficulty believing my ex, as I am sure he does not want to admit our son is not doing as great as he thought he would be in his care. My ex also is attributing our son's academic issues on being new to high school and the school district, and is blaming me for not having any oversight and enabling him the last 4 years and him switching schools a few times, and that his last school district was not good and he never learned any good study habits. Which is ridiculous because I tried very hard to get my son back on track when he was with me until my ex got the judge to move him to his district. Also, his dad is enabling him now by trying to get me to let him go to homecoming when he is almost failing a class. I texted my ex and my son and said absolutely not, no homecoming dance due to the D in his bad behavior in class, that I will not reward bad behavior and bad grades. I also explained to my son that homecoming is for juniors and seniors anyway, and he will have the next 3 years to attend. My son is furious with me, and I feel bad, but at the same time my work friends are telling me I am doing the right thing by disciplining him when his dad will not. Update 5. My ex is very high conflict. When I was not allowing my son to go to homecoming on my weekend, I eventually did. My son was arguing with me, and his dad, who was dropping off my younger son, started backing him up and also arguing and yelling at me in front of the kids. I do not feel safe anymore, and he traumatized my younger son. We have trial coming up. He is trying to get my younger son also. He has custody of the older. Will it be effective to bring this up that he emotionally scares my younger son and me? He also did this a couple of years ago, so this is the second time, and he argues with me all the time on Talking Parents. Update 6. Edit, my son is a freshman. So he does not play for varsity, he just likes to go to the games as a social event or to volunteer. So I am in conflict with my son mostly, 15, but also my ex. Part of the reason I am so inflexible now is because my ex just takes advantage and always pushes to take time away from me when I already only see my son 4 days a month. It doesn't seem fair that I am the only one having to move things around. His younger brother lives with me and goes to his dad every other weekend. This was done so the boys could see each other on weekends, so it is also not fair to him. I no longer allow my son to stay for varsity games on Fridays. My pickup time is 7:30 p.m., But if he stays for games, I usually have to pick him up at around 9:30 or forfeit the night. I tried this once and it was very hard on my boyfriend and baby. He also asked me this week if I could drop off his cousin and brother earlier for my ex's weekend at 6 p.m. His cousin was spending the weekend with him for his birthday, because it's his birthday and he wanted his cousin and brother to go with him to the varsity game. During school dances, I find myself having to give up time also. Switching weekends doesn't work because I work every other Sunday and I set it up that way so I can spend max time on my weekends with my older son, and my boyfriend cannot watch the kids when I work on the weekends. I should add that I also had to forfeit a lot of time during summer that we split 50-50 for his football practice that was 4 days a week because it is like an hour drive to take him to practice. My son told me the other day that I am mean and I suck and I never give him a real reason why I can't be flexible on the schedule, I just say no. However, this is my time with him and it doesn't seem fair to have to give up hours or drive to get him late just so he can hang out at games or dances. There are plenty of games and dances he can go to on the 80% of days he is with his dad. Update 7. My ex and son, 15, always asks to switch weekends or do drop-off early, and I used to accommodate, but ever since he is taking me to trial I just have been sticking exactly to the court order. I also only see my older son 4 days a month and have structured my work schedule around that. I work part-time, every other Sunday, so when I switch weekends I basically lose a day because of work. My ex is complaining because he says he does drop-offs at different times when I ask, and when I had primary he said he often switched weekends, or gave up his Monday holidays. He says my older son is getting frustrated because I am difficult and always say no to him. I've just repeatedly told him on Talking Parents that I don't want to switch because of my work schedule and because we need to follow the court order and to stop harassing me. For example, my son wanted me to drop off his cousin and brother, who lives with me primarily, an hour early so they could go to the varsity football game for his birthday. I told him no, we have a court-ordered time for drop-off. My son wanted to go to a varsity game to volunteer on my weekend and asked if I could get him a few hours late. I said no. My ex wanted to switch weekends so my son could go to his team trip to a college game and I said no, but I did give up Friday night to Saturday so he could go. My ex wanted to switch weekends so my son could go to a school dance. I said no initially but ended up just giving up my Saturday again and let him go. My ex wanted to switch weekends for Thanksgiving because the way it worked out this year was he gets them Friday to Sunday, then I get them Sunday to Wednesday, he gets Wednesday to Friday, I get Friday to Sunday. He wanted to switch to cut down on the kids' travel time allegedly so that we only have to do pick-up drop-off 3 times instead of 5 times, but that's really only 2 hours saved, which isn't that big of a difference. I think he has something planned that weekend and can't watch the kids. My ex is also mad at me for refusing any out-of-country travel for the kids even though it is his fault for showing them photos of their global trips in the first place. So yeah, now my ex is saying I'm high conflict and controlling, and more so ever since the trial was put on calendar and not putting the kids first. Is he going to get anywhere with this in trial? Update 8. So my son is 15 and I only see him every other weekend and 50 to 50 summers. This isn't because I'm a bad mom or whatever people tend to think, it's because the judge has split up him and his younger brother because my older son wanted to go live with his dad. So we each see one kid every other weekend so that the brothers can spend the weekend together. That being said, my older son's birthday fell on his dad's weekend this year and his stepmom and his dad went all out and took him on a staycation to celebrate. I am unfortunately not as well off as them. I did give him a card and $40 cash, which he said thank you and seemed fine with us. While he was gone, it was my boyfriend's birthday. He has been so supportive through all the custody battles and me struggling financially, and basically lets us live with him in his house rent-free and helps me take my younger son to school and take care of our baby. He is a great stepdad. I wanted to do something nice for him, so I bought him the PS5 bundles since he has been using an old PS4 for a while. We got a cake and did a mini celebration with my younger son and baby and him while my older son was at his dad's. Well, I guess my younger son told my older about it and my older son is now furious with me. He is starting to say again that I don't care about him and I only care about my new family. However, he was the one who chose to tell the judge he wanted to go live with his dad. It's basically his dad's fault that I barely see him now. I do still love him and care for him, but he had already celebrated his birthday at his dad's house. He told me that he thought I would at least get him a cake and he thought the cake was for him when I took him to the store to buy the cake for my boyfriend, and that it was messed up to do that for my boyfriends and just give him $40. I guess I don't really agree because my boyfriend is an adult and so obviously his gifts will be more expensive than a 15-year-old. Update 9. How do you show courts about alienation? Every time my 15-year-old ends up living with his dad and we have court coming up, this happens. The first was when he was 12. I made the mistake of letting him and his brother stay with his dad during COVID, no order at the time. At that point, he was still my baby and would fight with his dad often. He was still angry with his dad about the separation. But all of a sudden, after living there, he became angry with me often, not wanting to stay with me as much, getting mad at me if I did not let him go to his dad's. I tried forcing the old schedule back and only letting the kids see their daddo to reduce the alienation, but then my ex filed for custody and got 55-45 until COVID ended. Fortunately, once COVID ended, the mediator realized my ex was influencing our son by telling him the schools were better where he lived, so I got my sons back, but was still about 60-40 joint custody. Then my ex filed again last year and somehow got my son to tell the judge that he wanted to live with his dad. Fortunately, they ended up only sending my older son to live there and let me keep my younger son. Unfortunately, that meant we both had custody of the other child reduced to 0 so the boys could see each other on weekends. For about 6 to 7 months my son was okay. Then when he started high school and my ex pushed for a custody trial to try and get my younger son, everything deteriorated. We constantly fight over things like me not letting him go to school dances, or not allowing him to change the schedule to stay at his dad's more, since I barely see him. He tells me I don't care about him, tells his dad, who encourages him, that he hates my boyfriend, and I only care about him and our new baby. That I only care about his brother and not him. My ex sent him to stay with me on his weekend this week because he went out of town, and not even a day into it he got into a fight with my boyfriend for yelling at him when he was fighting with his brother. Told his dad I'll let my BF get in his face that he hates it here and wants to leave. He told me the same thing when we moved in with my boyfriend last year. I hate it here and I am going to tell the judge I want to live with my dad, which his dad jumped on. This is alienation, right? How do I deal with my son and how do I show the courts this so I don't also lose my younger son? He used to be such a mama's boy. Update 10. For the record, my older son lives with his dad and frequently cusses and is crude. My younger son is in 2nd grade and lives with me. They used to both live with me up until a year or so ago and now see each other only on weekends and breaks. My younger son did not have any issues at school outside a mishap 4 to 5 months ago where his teacher got mad at him and reached out to me when his classmates beat up a 1st grader, and my son just watched and did not go, and an adult. However, after spending all Christmas break with his brother, 1.5 weeks at his dad's and then 1.5 weeks with me, he suddenly gets sent to the principal's office because during independent work time he asked his partner to smell his privates, unsure if he said balls or butt, and lifted his leg up for him to do so. His teacher said my son told her he was just messing around. When I spoke to my son and demanded to know where he learned that from, he refused to tell me from who and kept saying from his own head. I am positive this came from his brother and my son was just trying to not get him in trouble. I told both my older son and ex this, and now both are furious with me. My ex claims I am only trying to pin this on his household because we have a custody trial coming up, and the teacher told him during conferences that my younger son was already talking out of turn and touching people in class, that he could have gotten it from friends or anywhere, and that he has heard our older son cuss but never anything about privates. He also rudely told me to stop blaming everyone else and just parent our child. My older son is angry with me because he claims he doesn't say things like that, but he lies frequently and I have heard him be crude, and feels like it's unfair to pin the behavior on him. He asked me if his brother started fighting in school or vaping if I'd blame him too. Am I a jerk? I did tell my younger son not to do it again and put him in the corner for his behavior. Update 11. Some background: my ex had been fighting for custody since 2020 and is still going. He finally managed to get my older son living with him, and because the courts kept my younger son with me, we now only see the other child every other weekend so the boys can spend weekends together. I filed for child support, but because we make around the same, it was set at 0 with us splitting medical costs and him covering insurance. So before, when both kids lived with me primarily, I paid for everything for them: medical, extracurriculars, etc. My ex paid my rent and phone bill and paid for stuff for the kids separate from me. He, however, decided he didn't know any support anymore when the custody became 50-50, even though it's his job as a father to support his family. Now that my older son is with him, he constantly hounds me for money that I can't afford because I work part-time now and have a baby with my new partner to take care of. I also pay for my younger son clothes, food, haircuts, school supplies, doctor's visits, and never ask him for anything for him. He feels that because he still pays on his own decision for clothing and shoes for my younger son that I am a deadbeat for not providing for my older son. I do still pay for half my older son's braces, which is like $100 per month, and for birthday/Christmas gifts, and got him a backpack for school. Some things my ex keeps asking for: half of my son's contact lens fees, half of co-pays for medical procedures, money for his extracurriculars which are optional and cost way too much, half of school field trip fees, I keep telling him I don't have the money, and now he is heavily implying I don't care about my older son and that my older son is way more expensive than my younger son, so me not contributing to his expenses is basically deadbeat status. The most hurtful thing he has said is that my kid's stepmom provides more for my older son than I do because I won't step up, which is terrible and unfair because she makes way more money as it is. So am I wrong for refusing? Update 12. Hi, is this good evidence to have submitted for my trial? My ex wants both children living with him. Currently one is with me, 2nd grade, and one with him, high school, for the last RFO hearing that is now going to trial. The kids see each other on weekends. My ex is a bully and is always texting me threatening things like I don't know if things would go that well for you in court since I've had the kids primarily the last year, and saying I didn't send him the right size clothes, asking me for money to pay for my older son, who does not live with me anymore per court order. We have a 0 child support order because one child lives with me and one child lives with him, saying I need to work full-time then when I tell him I can't afford it because I changed my hours to part-time. I submitted all those texts from him. My older son is not safe for my younger son to be around. I submitted evidence where he was super angry when living with me when he was 13, he punched a hole in the wall, he was always yelling at his brother and bullying him, where I had to wrestle him to the floor one time because he wouldn't give me his phone and he was hitting me. However, I know my ex is going to try and say that our older son has improved drastically behavior-wise since living with his dad and that the boys get along well now. He is also going to try and say I'm a hypocrite because I made my sons share a room when I moved in with my boyfriend when both kids were living with me and that I never wanted to separate them before. My younger son needs to stay with me for stability. I submitted a lot of photos of him and his friends here and his good grades. My ex is trying to argue that siblings are more important than friends, and why didn't I care about stability back when I tried to move the kids' schools to a bad district a year ago to move in with my boyfriend, but I feel like that was a necessity at the time because I was having a baby with my boyfriend. Update 13. The current court order says my 17-year-old son is able to play football, he is a junior, and if he has games on Friday, drop-off will be on Saturday morning. He is supposed to be with me every Friday to Sunday of the month except one. He is currently in JV. Last year he would tell me and his dad that he had to be at the varsity games. I found out later that he wasn't playing, he was volunteering and just helping the varsity team and coaches, hanging out on the sidelines. This year he is still JV. Supposedly he told his dad last minute he has to be at the varsity game and just hop on the bus with them to go to the away game. Again, he wasn't playing, he said he was helping the varsity team and coaches, and that him and the other JV quarterback were both there listening to the plays and strategies, and he is claiming this is important to him and he wants to be there. I feel it is my ex's fault for allowing this to happen and to make me miss time with my son. I feel that if he isn't playing varsity, he doesn't need to be at the varsity games or practices, or volunteering events. His dad is claiming he isn't told things until last minute, but shouldn't he be emailing the coaches and verifying whether my son is required to be there? All he does is message me and say son has this and this, how do you want to handle? Shouldn't he be forcing my son to adhere to the custody schedule? If he knows that he isn't playing, he shouldn't be allowing him to go or asking me what to do. He should be following the schedule and taking my son to the meetup point. Would I be able to take this to court as interference of custodial time? My ex's argument is that it is common for JV to attend varsity games to learn and support, and that is why he never questioned it, and that I didn't complain about it last year, so he thought I also supported our son's extracurriculars, but I never said I agreed with any of this. My ex also keeps saying I need to talk to my son because he is 17 and will be 18 next year, to understand his reasoning behind wanting to do certain things, but we are the parents and we make the rules, so I feel like I could also use this to show that my ex just lets our son do whatever he wants. I also want to use this to get my younger son back, 9, because my ex is starting to put him into extracurriculars too, and I'm worried the same thing will happen when he goes to high school and I won't get my time with him. Update 14. My ex messaged me on Talking Parents asking me to not talk to my kids about child support because he claims our 9-year-old son came to him asking why she has to pay me money and saying I told him I can't afford to buy him things because I owe him a lot of money for child support. I told my ex that I told our son about child support so he knows that I am also contributing to things that my ex buys for the kids. Was I in the wrong, and will this look bad for me when I go back to court to try and get custody back? He is taking over half my paycheck and is asking me to cover 50/50 its unreimbursed medical costs as well. Per the order, I told him to just take it out of my child support payments. When I tell him I can't afford to even pay my bills anymore, all he rudely says is maybe work more than 1 to 2 days per week or ask your boyfriend who pays for everything for help. I also have a 3-year-old with my boyfriend, so I can't work more than 1 to 2 days a week because he works full-time and daycare is too expensive. My ex doesn't even care about my 3-year-old and says that I'm not absolved of my financial duty to our 2 kids just because I went and had another one. Update 15. My ex recently put me on child support after he bullied me in the courts into taking primary custody of our 2 kids. I have to pay $650 a month plus arrears, so it is close to $740 a month. I only make $1,500 a month due to only being able to work 1 to 2 days a week as my boyfriend, and I have a 3-year-old child, and it doesn't make sense to sign her up for 2 days of daycare a week since I make so little. My boyfriend works full-time and supports us, but I do not want him to be paying for the kids that are not his. My ex, on the other hand, has a partner who is well off and according to him is paying my part of raising the kids, whereas I should be the one contributing. First of all, I do contribute by paying for the kids' food and necessities when they are with me, and they are with me almost every weekend. I also pay half for some of the kids' medical costs like braces. My ex has them on his insurance, but he could go through Medicaid, which I have the kids on, and get things for free, yet he complains that I don't help with any other medical costs like co-pays, glasses and contact lenses for our older son who needs them because he plays football. I don't feel like I should have to pay him child support. I make less money than him, however the courts imputed my income. He has a partner who has money, he works full-time, and they don't have a little one to care for and support at home. When I had the kids initially, all he did was pay my rent and phone, only about $500 to $600 per month, while complaining the whole time, and I never asked him for child support. Am I in the wrong here? He keeps saying that I am required to pay because they are my kids too, but how am I supposed to afford my bills if they keep taking half my paycheck every month? Especially when my ex keeps bullying me and asking me for money to cover half of the medical costs on top of the support I already pay. He is so rude and will say things like work more kids cost money when I know he does not need that money from me. Update 16. Are any of these considered alienation/custodial interference or would look bad in court? Telling kids that their father put me on child support so I can't afford things for them, but that anything their dad buys I am technically contributing to. Our 17-year-old son said very rude things to me over text because I wouldn't let him volunteer at the varsity game. He is only on JV during my custody time. He only said these things to me after his dad texted him saying he had to drop him off with me that day. I feel that my ex is not supporting me regarding my visitation time with my son and is alienating him from me. My ex frequently texts me asking to swap weekends or whether I am allowing my 17-year-old to attend varsity games with his team, even though I already said no. My son will tell his dad I told him he could stay, and then his dad texts me asking if he is staying even though he knows I would never tell our son he can stay. Is this custodial interference? He claims he will give me makeup time, but he started refusing to talk to me about it because he will speak to me about makeup time another day, since I ended up allowing my son to stay, if my ex drove him all the way to my house after, when I am not making false accusations. Putting our 9-year-old in 2 extracurriculars even though he should only be in 1. I did agree initially, so not sure if that makes a difference, because he claimed he would let me have makeup time, but I am shorted about 30 minutes on several weekends, because he won't let me drop the kids off at the meetup point at 9 p.m. because it's a school night and they need to go to sleep. Is this custodial interference? My ex brought our younger son breakfast when he dropped off our older last weekend, and my younger son started asking why I don't come to the door and saying that dad is trying to be nice. I told him that dad is only fake nice to me and is actually very mean to me. My son apparently told my ex this. I have no idea why, but unsure if that counts as badmouthing. I'm trying to build a case that my ex alienated my older son from me and is starting to keep my younger son from me, so I can get custody back for my younger son. Update 17. The kids live with my ex. We live an hour apart, 1.5 hours with traffic. I made it very clear to my ex that I do not want my son going to varsity football games with his team. He is JV, not varsity, but keeps insisting he needs to go to varsity games to support and help the coaches to help him get onto varsity next year, which sounds like a lie to me. The order states if he has a Friday game we do drop off on Saturday morning, but he is not playing, just being on the field with his teammates, so this order does not apply. Normally the order states we meet halfway on Friday with both kids. This has already happened twice. The first time my son just got on the bus and did not tell anyone, so I let it slide and picked him up on Saturday. The second time, I only agreed because my ex drove my son all the way to my house on Saturday morning and my son was freaking out at me over text. I'm driving to my ex's city this week to see my younger son's sports game. My ex asked if I could pick my older son up at the high school about 20 minutes away after the game, so he could still attend the varsity game after school. I told him no. I told my ex he needs to have my older son at my younger son's game, and with all his things, ready for me to pick up right after. My ex said he strongly suggested I text my 17-year-old to let him know why he cannot go to the game, because he doesn't really understand my reasoning and it would be clearer coming from me. I told him no, and again that I couldn't be driving around at night picking up kids from multiple locations. Well, lo and behold, my older son got on the bus and is apparently now at the high school 20 minutes away from where I told my ex to have my son ready for pickup. All my ex has said is he told our son he couldn't go without my permission because pickup was tonight, and that he is still available for pickup at that high school 20 minutes away whenever I want to go get him. My ex is claiming he told my older son not to go and there wasn't anything else he could do, if I was refusing to talk to him myself, and that it's not contempt because my son is available for pickup, I just have to drive 20 minutes there to get him. I do not want to drive to go get him from that high school. If I do not get him for my overnight tonight, is this considered contempt or custodial interference that I can take back to court to get back custody of my younger son? Commenter: that is a person who can't accept any responsibility in their lives. Their 9-year-old can't be involved in 2 extracurriculars? Jesus, that is awful way to think about your kids. Commenter 2: also note how she just glosses over the fact that she lost primary custody of her younger kid by the later updates. Commenter 3: if it has changed, but when my son was in school, he's 21 now, football players were required at every game regardless of if they had field time or not. They were there as backup for injuries and illnesses. Her son is 17, no court is going to force him to go with her, and messing with his football stuff messes with his potential for college entry. It tell her to get over her stuff and do what is best for her son, which is to go to football. Commenter 4: oh wow. A 2-year speed run on screwing up her relationship with both her sons. Impressive. I believe this is a prime example of hating your ex more than you love your children.